into English so we can understand it. Oh.
Good morning again. Right, today what we're going to do is explain what's the process we run, which is a fiscal situation and the app. And basically, we'll then go through the first 5 steps of the foundation course that we run. And is that better?
Thank you.
If we've gone through it fast enough, we might even have a booty bonus one, because coming towards Christmas, everyone wants to try and have some more money in their pockets. So, and obviously it's getting cold out there, so if we can show a way how people don't have to pay for their electric and gas, that's always going to be a bonus. Sound good? Okay, brilliant. Okay, so basically, I'm Charles. I created the Foundation Group, which is a Discord group which specialises in trying to show people how to basically start surviving better, or survive better in a better way, so that you end up with more money and you're less at risk from the powers that be. Running alongside that, we also have an app which I generated called the Willoughby Genius app, which is a legal app. It is the largest consumer-based legal database on the planet. It has 750,000 legal entries, and it is currently in use in England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, America, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. And we're actually in a few other countries as well, but not properly rolled out there. Okay, so basically the Discord app is a group of us all together. We have 670 members or something now. And when you're actually starting on this process of trying to get into the private, you tend to find that you are on your own. It's a lonely journey, and there's no one to talk to, share experiences, and sort of kind of get help. With the Discord group, what we're doing is we're actually working together to try and help support one another and help to give everyone the opportunity so they're no longer alone. That also goes for, if you're ever in trouble, you've got bailiffs at the door, we can actually try and talk you through, etc. Okay, so what we'll do is quickly run through the app, the Discord side. We have meetings every week, or Zoom meeting every week at 7 PM, and it's a Zoom one, and it's recorded as well, so if you can't make it, you can always watch the follow-up ones, and all the previous ones are available as well. We were on YouTube, and we did quite well over there. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I did a talk on the Freemasons and Knights Templar, and shortly after that, we got banned. There is a reason for that. Maybe some of you don't know this, but I actually held office in Freemasons, a lodge. I was also in the Royal Arch chapter, and I was also Captain of the Guard in the Knights Templar. So I actually bring receipts, right? And I actually show, my old aprons and stuff like that. And a lot of these stories, when you see these people on YouTube, they're only hearing what they've heard from someone else. I've actually been there. I was even actually, in fact, on the board of directors of the Southgate Masonic Centre. So I was actually didn't know what I'm talking about, basically. So that obviously didn't go down too well with someone, and we've then been kicked off YouTube. So we're now rebuilding our, getting the old videos onto Rumble. So we do have all the old Zooms available, but the training ones for each step, I'm still rebuilding those. Okay. The other thing about the Discord group is when people are struggling, a lot of the times they don't know what to say, who to talk to, etc. So what we do is we also have role-play sessions every week, 2 or 3 of them, whatever's convenient for obviously with members. So what happens, we sit on them, we go through the exercises. So one day you'll be the bailiff, you'll be the homeowner, you'll be the policeman, or whatever, and sort of take turns around so that everyone knows what to do, what to say, and what the legislations are as well. Besides doing that, there is a sort of sense of community within the Discord group, to the point now where we've got other people's products who are in our group, who have got a girl there who makes soaps, someone else who... Hello? Yeah, sorry.
It's not working. Normal 50p.
You're tracking your conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, so basically, we've got a good community here. So if people are selling things like soaps or holistic healing, anything like that, our members can actually, we've got their own page there, they can put those subjects on there, and it's available to the rest of the group as well, so it helps one another. That's pretty good. The other thing about the Discord group is the way that I started it. We started the Discord group, so literally March this year. There was literally just like 2 of us, and we're now, as I said, up to 670 people. So it's going quite well. And the reason for that is because when we started it, I was sort of pretty much trying to help everyone individually. And the rule that we had is, if I can't help you, the next person who comes along, and you know what you're doing, right, you pass it on to the next man. And everyone's doing that. So these days, when someone comes on and puts a question up there, normally about 4 or 5 people have actually answered it before we've even seen the question, which is pretty good because everyone's trying to help one another. And also it means that if you are in trouble with, as opposed to being on your own, you've got sort of 600 people on your side, which is, quite important. Right, so that's basically the Discord group. On the pages itself, on Discord, if you don't know how to use Discord, don't worry. The first page is Start Here, and there's a video there of how to use the Discord page. And each page is to relevant subjects. So starting with, creating your own company, doing your trademarks, EDP, which is enroll depot, securing your house, securing your cars, etc. But there's quite a few steps down there. And also there's another page over there which is essential purchases. So if you want to know, where do we get the lights from, or the cameras from, or the locks, or whatever, we've got everything, trying to take all the guesswork out, where we've got the samples of everything, complete with Amazon links, so you just literally click and you go straight onto the page. So it just basically makes life a bit easier for everyone. That's basically the Discord group. The Willoughby app is basically there to back up the Discord side, because if people want to know, okay, is this legal? Am I going to get in trouble doing this? What is the legality? What is the legislation? So on and so forth. They've got that there because the Willoughby app works in sort of 4 ways. The first side is a verification side. So in other words, if you have a bailiff come to you, do you know if they're actually a debt collector or a certified debt collector, certified bailiff? We've actually got on the app, hit the button, punch in their details, takes you straight to the page, and it tells you whether or not they're still in date or whether or not they are actually a certified bailiff. But you always ask the question first, because if it's on camera and they've told you that they're a certified bailiff, but they're not, then you've got them. Then the other sort of 3 sides to this is what I call the 3-headed dog. You've got 2 heads, which are Rottweilers, and the third one is Labrador. The first one, which is, if you're in a situation of a point of crisis, you would use what is known as a crisis prompt. And that could be, you're driving down the road and a policeman stopped you, you're walking down the road, police stopped you, bailiffs are at your door, whatever. All you do is you push on the button for crisis prompts, whichever one's the appropriate one, and you get the answers, what you can do, what you can't do, what the legislations are, etc., and what the loopholes are to how to get out of the trouble that you're in. So basically, the first one is, as I said, the Rottweiler, and basically what it does is it grins, or shows its teeth and sort of growls at whether it be a policeman, a bailiff, or whatever. The second head is the other Rottweiler, which is the invoice head. Now this one is not about growling. This time they're actually biting, because what you're doing here is, if someone is trying to push over the line. What you're actually doing is you're actually going to be invoicing them then and there. So you're going to be hitting them in the same system as what they're trying to manage us or take control of us by using the commercial market. Yeah. So we're going to be hitting them back in the pocket. And that's directly on the app. You've got the invoices built directly in, complete with your tariff of your charges. So, if you've got, like myself, I've got the trademark for written, trademark for spoken, how much I charge if the policeman stop me in the road, £650 an hour. If they're stopping me in the car, same sort of thing. If they come to my house, it's going to be like £850 per hour. If I'm having to go to the station to do something, well, that's going to cost you £1,000. I'm a commercial, same as you. If you want to contract with me, you can. Don't blame me if you don't like my prices, then don't contract with me. Yeah. Okay. Basically, what you do is, sorry, we'll come to questions in a bit. Once we've, when you've got the invoice itself, it's actually there on your. It can be on your phone, it can be on your computer, whatever. It actually saves directly to it. I originally wanted it to send it directly from the app, but it was too much of a grief because everyone was on Proton accounts and Gmail accounts, etc., and it would be too much grief trying to do it with each one. So it just meant save it was much easier, and then you use whatever invoicing system you have, and it just sends it directly out. That's for the second head. The third head is the educational head, which is the Labrador. Now, when it comes to the third head, originally we wanted to have 3 Rottweilers, but we found that the Rottweiler isn't a good teacher and wasn't sort of patient, because when we were programming it in, we wanted it to have bite, we wanted it to be aggressive, because it's obviously standing up for you. Now, if you don't understand something and you're asking it a question, you don't want it snapping back at you. You want it to have a little bit of time and patience, because everyone's got a different learning speed, right? Some people pick things up quicker than others, and we want it to be helpful and to be on your side. So the Labrador, we found, had a slightly better temperament for something like this. So you can sit there and ask, say you're sitting there watching telly or whatever, and you decide that you heard something on telly. And you say, okay, well, let's find out a little bit more about that. Can the police actually do that? Can bailiffs actually do that? So you just literally just go online, tap in. The app itself is what's known as a PWA app, which is Progressive Web App. It means that it will work on a computer, a tablet, a phone, whatever. Whether it's Apple, whether it's Linux, whether it's Android, whatever. It'll work across everything. And then basically, you can sit there, ask it questions, and learn, right? Because everyone's on a journey here, and the information that we have, unfortunately, if we're all in lots of different groups, there's information which comes from all the groups, and it's not always accurate. And some people, they mean right, but in actual fact, it's not correct, right? And what we need to do is to find out that what we're saying is not going to put us in jeopardy. And secondly, if we're going down this road, we know that if we are there, we're saying things it's going to be correct, and we are actually standing in the correct position rather than thinking we're on solid ground when we're not. Yeah. So that's basically why we have the app. The Discord itself is free. Anyone can join that. The app is a paid app, but the benefits of it we actually far outweighs everything else. But I'll go into that with pricing anyway later. Okay, so that is basically the app. That is the Discord side. What I'm going to do now is actually start talking you through the first 5 steps and the reason why we do it. Well, the first one is setting up your own company. Now, as you know, or some of you may know, some of you don't, Foundation course, which is available via the Discord app. The first step is claiming your name. Now, when you were born, you were given a name by your parents, and the government then took that name and turned it into all capitals. Now, according to the English language, anything that's in all capitals is either an acronym, such as SCUBA, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, or BOGOF, buy one get one free, or a company name. So, stands to reason, but why they wanted you to be a company name is because companies can only deal with companies, they can't deal with individuals. So, by you being a company, anyone, the government, etc., can all deal with you. Now, as you're an implied name, in other words, your name in all uppercase, such as on your driving licence, passports, etc., it means that anyone who's a company can actually deal with you. So what we want to do is, by claiming your name, we're actually going to take the power back, basically, on that. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go to company's house, we're going to set up a company, and we're going to make that company dormant, and it's going to be in your name with the word limited or LTD at the end of it. So if your name is John Henry Doe, your dormant company will be John Henry Doe Limited. Now what that does is it actually pulls you out of the system and you're now in the sort of world of private because you're actually in England rather than United Kingdom. Okay. Right, so once we'll come to questions in a bit. Right, once you've pulled yourself out and you're in the England, not in the United Kingdom, you're on a different standing altogether. That's the first step. Now, on every step of the Discord site, we actually have videos there to try and help you do everything. And each page, if you've got questions on how to do it, just leave messages on the page and people come straight back to you. On most pages, on the early stages, we normally have what we call page champions, which are people who have got a big mouth normally and want to help everyone sort of on that, and then become like an expert in that sort of side. Once you've finished doing the first step, which is pulling yourself out and you've created your own company, the second step is we want to try and secure your name. And that is basically where you do a trademark on your name. So your John Henry Doe name becomes a trademark name. Now, when we do that, we do it under Class 35 provisions of a nominee director. Now, the reason why we do that is because there's two main reasons. The first is if you are dealing with the police, and I have if I'm stopped by them, I'll say to them, it's not a problem. If you want my details under 163 of the Road Traffic Act, you're entitled, well, actually you can stop me. Under 164 of the Road Traffic Act, if you want to see my driving licence, I can quite happily give you my details. However, you need to understand that I am actually a registered company and my name is a registered trademark. Now, if you want my details, I'll quite happily contract with you. It's going to cost you £500 every time you write my name down, £100 every time you say my name, because I've got a written and spoken trademark on my name. Now, the first 15 minutes is free. After that, it's £650 per hour. Would you like to go and have a chat with your sergeant or your inspector, right, to find out whether or not you're authorised to, contract with me, or would you much prefer to leave me and let me go on my way without delay? Choice is yours. Now, what then happens is that's the first side where you can actually use it. You can also, if someone's writing to you, you can always put down there, this is a registered trademark, put a stamp on it, basically, as in stamp, not postage stamp, and send it back. Right? But it's really not really meant for that. It's meant for two reasons. One is obviously if someone's trying to contract with you, such as the police, bailiffs, or whatever, that's the first side. The second side is the most important one, is if you're in court. Now, if you're in court, you don't have to even go to court, right? Because what they're trying to do is, the judge is always trying to take your name to court, and they're trying to prosecute the name, because they're a company and they're trying to interact with your company. Now, if you've elevated your company from the implied to an expressed, so in other words, instead of you just being John Henry Doe or uppercase, you are now John Henry Doe Limited, Companies House will tell you that there's only can be one company with that name. And obviously, if you've got the express one with the limited at the end of it, you actually take priority over the implied. So if you're in court, and you've got that, you don't even have to go to court. You can just send them the trademark certificate and the certificate of incorporation, and you don't even have to turn up, because if they want to, prosecute the name, if they want to shove my trademark in prison for 3 months, let them. Well, it's going to bother me, no? Right? So basically, that's when you're dealing with the trademark. Now, should they actually get you into court? Obviously, with the knowledge that you've got in the room over here, lots of people know about the trust laws, right? There's 3 positions in trust. You have the executor, the beneficiary, and trustee, yeah? Now, if you're going into court, and let's say they've kidnapped you and made you go to court, the first thing they'll always ask is, right, because they want you to admit to being the implied name. Therefore, they will actually have jurisdiction over you. So if they're asking you, are you John Henry Doe? You simply don't answer, yes, I'm John Henry Doe. You say, no, I am the owner of John Henry Doe. And here is my certificate of incorporation to prove it. Here is my certificate of trademark, which proves that I own it. Now, because we've done it for Class 35 provisions of a nominee director, basically what's happening is, when the judge is in court with you, he's trying to take control of your company. Yeah? Hence the reason why he's trying to prosecute the name, not the individual. So, if he's trying to take control of your company, right, having the trademark provisions of a nominee director is actually going to prevent him from doing that. So if you are in court and have kidnapped you, taken you in there, and you pulled out your certificate, I'm actually, the owner of the company, and I've actually got the trademark on the company, the judge cannot take control of your company because you're the owner. It also means that you are the executor and the beneficiary of the company, which means there's only one position left, which is the trustee. So what you can do is you can easily nominate the judge as a trustee and say, can you now please dismiss the case as there is no prosecution, because there's only 3 positions. Yeah, and if you've got the third, he's got the third position, right, it can't go anywhere, but you'll never actually get this out fully, because what will happen is the minute you start going down there, the clerk of the court's going to be standing up and trying to close it down and dismiss the case immediately, because you don't want to embarrass the judge. There has been one case where the judge carried on, and it ended up the CPS actually gave the judge 2 weeks to vacate his position, right? And I don't personally know the person who said that. However, the person was on the Hauntywood channel, and the guy who runs the Hauntywood channel, Carl, they're actually personal friends of him. So if he says that that was the case, because he actually knows them, right, I'm entitled to believe them. We've actually got that recording on the Discord page anyway, just to help people to understand that this thing is actually seriously powerful. Okay, so that's the trademark side. The third stage, and by the way, the reason why we're doing this in order is because in order to go further down the list, you need to have the previous steps completed first. So the third step is doing the EDP, which stands for Enrolled Deed Poll. Now, the Enrolled Deed Poll is basically giving yourself a lawful name, because your legal name is obviously all capitals, or what we want to do now is have it so that it's in uppercase and lowercase, but accepted by government entities. So what we do is, by having the Enrolled Deed Poll is completely different to a deed poll. A regular deed poll can be done with the Marks and Spencer's, WX Smith's kit, or you can go to a solicitor and they'll charge you anywhere between a few £100 and a few £1,000 to do a deed poll, but they're all the same, they're rubbish. They have no power whatsoever. The only one which is the important one is the enrolled one, because that's done through the court. And the place to have that done is through the Royal Courts of Justice in the Strand. And not only that, to do the whole thing, it's going to cost you £52 to have it done, plus it will cost you another £10 or £20 with the solicitor just to be the witness. So it's put under £100, right, to have everything done like that. And once you've got that, you can have the NHS name officially in the upper and lowercase. You can also change the land registry, which I'll be coming to in a second, right? And a few other government agencies as well. Now, it's really quite funny and quite amazing that you can actually have some government entities acknowledging the fact that you're an individual, and it's quite satisfying as well. Now, that is the EDP. Okay. Now, the reason why you would have the EDP done is we'll take us into the next one, which is stage 4, which is the securing your house. Now, any of you that own a house at the moment, unless you've done this process, I can physically put a charge on your house for say £5,000, and there's bugger all you can do about it, because the land registry uses unilateral contracts or unilateral agreements, which means only one signature is required. So I can just go to the Northampton court, you know, the crappy one, right, which is it's not really a court, but basically you go over there and apply to put a charge on your property for say £5,000. So long as I pay the right fee, right, and they've got my signature, right, it can be done. And the only time that I would have to prove that the debt exists is if you challenged it. Now, bearing in mind, you wouldn't even know that it's been done unless you've done an RX1 form, which says, you know, if, you know, just keeps you informed of that. But most people have never even heard of them, right? But basically, that's the reason why the likes of the water board, you know, Anglian Water, Thames Water, etc., they're happily putting charges and liens on people's properties. Now, there's a school of thought out there which says that if you put your house in trust, they can't put a charge on your property. That's not true, right? And I've got scores of people in my group who have got their house, had their house in trust, and have had charges put on their property because that isn't the case. Basically, the ones who put the charges on property is the land registry. Now, the land registry do this because on the deeds of your house, there is 2 sections. You've got the registered property part, and then further down on section B, it's called the proprietorship register. Now, the wonderful solicitors that you all paid hundreds of pounds for when you bought your house has stitched you all up, because they have written your name in all uppercase, which means that anyone can do this to you. Now, the way forward on how to prevent liens and charges being put onto your property is to hit that section, the B section, which is the proprietorship register, and have your name removed from the implied name into the EDP name, enrolled depot name, which is in upper and lowercase. Now, a lot of these groups, when you start talking to these people, they'll all tell you you should be doing this, you should be doing this, etc., etc. Right? I'm telling you all this because I've done this all myself, and as I said, we've got 600 odd people in the group that have all done it as well. So I'm talking to you from experience. A few months ago, I had Anglian Water wanted to put a charge on my property because I didn't want to pay the water bill. Now, the way they had to do this was they got in contact with the land registry, and the land registry wrote to me and said, in the same way as some of you remember a few years back where the BT operator would phone you and say, you know, we've got a reverse call here from, you know, your son or whatever, would you like to accept the charge? Well, the land registry wrote to me and said, Anglian Water have written to us and want to put a charge on your property. Would you like to accept the charge? Naturally, I said no. But the way I did it was I went into Willoughby Genius and said, Anglian Water want to put a charge on my property. Willoughby Genius is aware of what I'm doing exactly and what I've done so far. So with regards to EDP, trademarks, etc., because it keeps a record of everything for you, so it knows what process you're in. It's got continuous memory. Now, what it then said is, okay, well, the land registry cannot do this because all data that's put into the database on the land registry has to be accurate. And if they're spelling your name on the charge in all capitals, as an implied, and your name is on the registry in upper and lowercase as an EDP name, well then it's not accurate. Therefore, they cannot apply the charge. And even if they've got one on there and you've already done the EDP and you've had the name changed, you can then have the old charge removed on the same basis. Now, it originally took me over a year to get the EDP, the EDP name put onto the land registry because we didn't know how to do it correctly. Now that we've done it, we've got the time down to 3.5 months, right, which is still ridiculously long, but it's working now and people are having it done and preventing charges being put on their property. Now, once we've done the EDP side, we've secured your home, you're actually in a much better position because it means that no one can do this. And the only way that the land registry can put any charge on your property is if they've got your permission, because as your name is on in EDP format, you are seen by the government as an individual, not an employed company. So the only way that they can do that is with your permission. Right, sorry, we're not there yet. Right, so once you've done that, which is stage 4, which is the securing your house, the 5th stage is securing your car. Who thinks they own their car? No? Would you like to?
Yes.
Right, okay.
I own my car.
You own your own car? Okay. How do you do that?
I've got a green number plate from Seca, and I've exported my car from.
Okay. It's not the normal process, yeah? Okay. Right. There's always one.
I'm open to other things.
Okay. Okay. I'll show you another way of doing it, which is an easier way. Right. Basically, if you look at your logbook, your V5, right, many of you probably aren't aware of this. If you look at it, you'll see in big white letters, this is not proof of ownership, right? You are what is known as a keeper, which means that you're responsible for, or whoever is listed on there is responsible for insuring and taxing the vehicle, yeah? Now, there's obviously the arguments between driving and travelling. I'm not going to go into that today. I'm just going to pretend everyone's driving, yeah? It's easier. Right, but also gives you the cover from that side. Now, when you are just a registered keeper, DVLA, the police, etc., can take your car. You can have your car clamped, etc. It can be towed, right? And there's not a great deal you can do about it, because the first thing you've done as informed adults, like all of us are, as soon as we bought our car, the first thing we did is we signed it away by filling in the V5. What I'm going to show you now is how to actually get it back. Okay, what we need to do is we need to officially make you the owner of the car. Now, the reason why we do things in order, right, why we had to do the EDP before we did the deeds, right, is because obviously you can't put your house, into your EDP name if you haven't done EDP. And likewise, you can't put your car in a company name if you haven't got a company. So what we do is we change the V5 on your logbook basically, and we put it into your company name, which is dormant. Yeah. Now the dormant company part, so it'll basically say that my car is owned by John Henry Doe Limited. Sorry, not owned. The keeper is John Henry Doe Limited. Now immediately after you've got the V5 back, what you then need to do is reinsure your car. Okay, so the first thing you do is you go to compare the Meerkat, the market one, yeah, because their system works best. Now, when you go on to compare the market and you're doing the online form, towards the end there'll be, probably one of the last pages there, it'll say, is the registered keeper also the owner? Or is, yeah, that way. Now normally it's ticked yes, and everyone just goes next. What you do is you click no. Then it'll give you the opportunity to specify who is the keeper. So, it's keeper first, right? Then it will say who is the registered keeper. Then it'll say because you put no, it'll say is it an individual or is it a company? So you click on company. and you type in the company name. Then it will say, who is the owner? Is it an individual or company? This time you put yourself down as the owner. Right, make sure it is the same name as on your driving licence. Right, because that's, you probably wouldn't have a car. You haven't got a driving licence? Okay, right, okay. Okay, fine. Well, what we're doing is we're trying to do it in the normal way. Right. Okay, right. So you basically, right. So if you put that down as your implied name, right, it's also going to be the trademark name as well. So you're covering yourself once again now. Okay. No, implied name. Sorry, one thing I did miss out from earlier was by creating the EDP name as well, you've now got 2 identities, right, officially. Now, the way that I did this with mine personally is my driving licence is kept in the implied name. I also have the trademark in my implied name, and I also have the company name. So John Henry Doe Limited, that's also in my name, right? And I also have my old bank account in my name. So if anyone says to me, is that your name? I can say, it's proof, I own it. In fact, I own it more than anyone else would because I own the trademark on it and I've got the express company in that name as well. If they then ask me, have you got, about the EDP name? Well, I've got the Royal Courts of Justice certificate from there proving that that is my name and I own that. I also have my NHS paperwork which says that that's my name there, and I also have another bank account in that name. And also I've now got my passport in my EDP name as well. So the 2 strong identifications, normally your passport and your driving licence. So if you've got one in each, I can take out any identification I want. Now, no one can say to me that that's wrong or you can't do that, because I can. And it's completely official. I've got the paperwork to prove it. And the benefit of that is if everything goes to hell, right, I can always say, no, that's not me, that's me. All right, you've always got to get out a jail card for free. You always keep that nice and clean and separate your EDP details, right, so it's all nice and clean. It's always there, ready in case you need it at any particular time, right? Okay, so sorry, getting back to the car situation. It's basically like this with the 2 identities. It's like if you've got a blue car today and tomorrow you buy a red car, no one can turn around and say, well, you can't drive that blue car anymore because you've now got the red one, right? Because you own both cars, so you can decide which one you want to drive. It's the same thing with me. That way, what it does is it allows me to stay in the private when I want to and go into legal when I want to. Because the thing is, although everyone wants to try and stay solely in the private, it's not always practical, because it then means you can't have a driving licence and you have to do other things to deal with that, or it means that you may not be able to have, if you're just solely in private, it means you can't always have contracts with mobile phones or internets and things like that, which are standard things that we all pretty much want. But what it does, it allows you to go from private into legal and back again at will. Your choice. Right, okay, so what we've done now is we've done the fourth step was the securing your house. The 5th one is, we said about doing it with your car. Now, this is the benefit of this. When you have adjusted your car details, you become immune to speeding cameras, congestion charge, parking tickets, ULEZ charges, right? And they are fantastic. And once again, I'm telling you this from personal experience, but it's not just something I'm coming up with as an idea. Basically, what happens is this. After, let's say you get caught doing 35 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone on Thursday evening at 10 a.m, you'll get a letter from the police saying your details have been pulled up on the system because basically on the Thursday or whatever, your car was spotted doing this, that and the other, right? And normally, if you have that at the moment, what will happen is they can actually fine you, they can give you points on the licence, etc., because you haven't done anything with regards to your details. Now, basically, when you're in that sort of situation, you are kind of stuck. But if you've actually split the car details into the keeper and the owner, right, you're in a completely different ballgame. And this is the reason why. When you signed for your driving licence, you agreed to abide by the Road Traffic Act. And the police will always tell you that whenever they stop you. Now, when you put the car into the company name, right, when they send you the police letter saying that you did, 35 and 30, it'll say, under the Road Traffic Act 172 section, you are required to tell us who the driver was. Failure to do so will result in a £1,000 fine and 6 penalty points. Okay, now, if you've got a company, when was the last time your company got a driving licence? It never did. So therefore it didn't sign to agree to abide by the Road Traffic Act. Therefore they can't fine you £1,000, and it's very difficult to put 6 penalty points on a driving licence which doesn't exist. Yeah. What happens is when I had, when I've had parking, speeding fines come through to me, I just file it in the filing cabinet, the round one in the kitchen, the one with the pedal. Yeah. Yeah. 4 weeks later, what then happens is they send another automated letter, and when that comes through, I do the same thing. This one time it says, we wrote to you, 4 weeks ago, and you still haven't replied. You've got 2 weeks now to reply, right, and tell us who was driving, right, or basically, we're going to fine you £1,000 and give you 6 penalty points, right, and that one's treated with the same sort of contempt as the first one did, right, goes in the bin as well. Then what happens is 2 weeks after that, human intervention comes in, and you normally end up with a policeman who will grab that and realise that, hang on a second, this is registered to a dormant company, right, so we can't do anything with it. On one occasion, in the early days where we didn't quite do it correct, we actually ended up with the policeman phoning us. After I told him he couldn't do anything, and a rather heated conversation, it was quite amusing, but after a few minutes, he put the phone down on me, right, so it was pretty enjoyable, that. But basically, they can't do anything at all, right? So that's basically protecting your car. Now, when it comes to parking tickets and stuff like that, or ULEZ or congestion charges, they're going to be looking for the company, because that's who the car, the keeper is. Right, now, once again, from personal experience, we had the nice people from Cedar turn up at my house saying, we've had, we've got a ULEZ parking, ULEZ charge that you haven't paid. And I said, I know. And he said, well, are you going to pay it? I said, no. And he goes, why not? I said, why should I? And he goes, well, you've got a letter here which says that you've got to pay it. I said, I'm not paying it. And he said, well, what you can do? I said, I'm not going to do anything. Right, at the time it was really embarrassing because I was still in the bathrobe and I was just halfway through meditating. Right, so it wasn't a good look. Hair was all over the place. We won't talk about that. That video is never, because I've got house videos, cameras, etc., in the house, etc., and around the outside, etc. That video will never see the light of day. Although I've been offered all sorts of money from my group. so's Wendy. But yeah, basically, what happens there is they also are looking for the company because the company's got the debt. So I say to them, you're not going to get anything, I'm not paying it. And they said, well, you're going to have to. If you don't, we're going to clamp your car or tow your car. I said, well, you can't. And he goes, why can't I? I said, well, basically, once again, it's all about using their laws against them. I said to him very clearly, under paragraph 10 of Schedule 12 of the Tribunal Courts and Enforcement Act 2007, you cannot take control of goods which does not belong to the debtor. Now, the debtor is the company who is the keeper. The owner of the car is the owner, different person totally. They can't do anything. And then what happens is you just watch as they completely deflate and they start to get a little bit passionate because you're playing with their ego and they don't like that. And they start saying, oh, do you know what the the consequence of this is? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, but are you really sure you know what the consequences are? I said, yeah. You're going to try and put a CCJ on a dormant company. Good luck with that now. Fuck off. Right. And you watch them doing the, sorry, excuse French. You watch them do the walk of shame off the drive, right? And it's really satisfying. And Wendy says, she's never felt so empowered, right? Watching that being done, sort of thing. And we've had a couple of times that's happened, and they can't do anything. And they're absolutely gutted. And it's not just that. As we're doing this, we're training our people in the group, and they're doing it as well. And the videos are starting to come out now, and they're being put on the site as well, right? So it's actually showing people that you can actually do this, and you can actually get away with it by turning their system on themselves. Okay? Right, that's the 5 steps.
How are you turning it on themselves? What are you getting that's different from the company's house as to HMRC? What is the difference? Why is it better to be in the company's house? I don't understand. You're still on the system.
Yes, you are still on the system. However, if you're not on the system and you're just an implied company, right? You've got no control over anything. If you've taken control by owning the company and turned it into a limited company, right?
Yeah, I understand that. I understand the system. I've spoken to Carl from Waterloo.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is what's the benefit? How do you benefit? Because you're still on the system.
Yeah.
If you're on the system for HMRC or if you're on the system for company's house,
Yeah.
you're still on the system.
Nobody can hear.
I'm
So
giving the
they
mic.
can't hear you.
I'm saying if you're on
Did you give her
the
the microphone?
system for
Give her the mic, I can't hear what she's saying.
I've got big enough mouth to stick
Switch it
to.
out. No, you haven't.
Is this
Just
one?
try to
We need to hold it close.
I've got another one.
Yeah. Basically, when
So how are you still on the system? How are you on the system? If you're still on HMRC, or if you're on company's house, you're still on the system. So
Right, okay.
what is the benefit of doing this?
Basically, HMRC is responsible for VAT, right? Not... Hang on. Hello? Right, HMRC is responsible for VAT, not inland revenue. Okay, I haven't paid tax, right, in over 15 years, right, and I don't intend to either. Now, last year, the HMRC, I'm not hiding from them either. Last year I pulled out some money from pension, and because I hadn't done a self-assessment, they decided they wanted to tax me on it, 40%, which is fine. But because I didn't do the self-assessment, this year they had to give it to me all back again. They had to give a full refund back to me, so I got all the money back. So that's one of the reasons why you can do it. Second thing is actually, you are actually out of the system, which means that you're not in the United Kingdom. You're actually in England. That's when you set your company up that way.
Yeah, but what's the benefit of being on the company?
You're in control.
You're in control.
But you're still on the system.
It doesn't matter.
It's so corrupt.
You're turning it around on them.
Keep the mics over there. They can't hear her. Microphone.
Right. Hang on. Before we go into this, hang on a sec, Maria. Sorry. Before we get into the answers, what I want to do, we've done the 5 steps, but there's one more that I'd like to try and give, which is beneficial. Yeah? That's all right. Basically, the 6th step is how to get away with utilities. Because it's getting cold out there. I'm sure everyone wants to have a nice warm house, but no one really wants to pay the electric bills and gas bills, yeah? Now, basically, in order to do this, what you do is there's a 5-stage process that you must complete. Now, if you do this, right, you'll be completely safe. The first step, number 1, is you email your current supplier of gas or electricity, or if it's both, yeah? So what you do is you're going to be asking them, right, if they have a contract with your limited company. So the way to test it, or the way to phrase it, is hello, Mr. CEO. We have just taken over the company at, John Henry Doe Limited at 22 Arcadia Avenue, London, whatever, yeah? Can you please tell me if E.ON Next Limited has a contract with our limited company for the supply of gas or electricity at the above address? If so, can you please send me a copy of the contract for our files? If not, please tell me no. Now, what will happen is you'll end up with someone coming back to you saying, okay, we actually, it's with the previous name or whatever, or we supply that address, right? But if you then say to them, thank you very much, but you didn't actually answer the question, can you please tell me whether or not E.ON Next Limited has a contract with John Henry Doe Limited at this, the above address, etc., for the supply of gas and electricity? If so, please send me a copy of the contract for our files. And eventually what will happen is 2 or 3 emails back and forwards, they'll come back and say, no, we do not have a contract with your limited company at that address. Once you've got that, you're golden. Cut off all contact with them. Stage 2, change your electric meter and your gas meter. Now, you've actually got people in our group that actually can do this and change your meters. Right? If you don't, you can go elsewhere. There's quite a few groups out there that actually change your meters. But there's only one group at the moment which is actually using our system, and we don't have problems. Said so far, through using the electric and gas meters, etc., the new ones that we've done, we've got 600 odd people in our group. About 80 to 85% of them have had their meters changed, which is over 500 people. We've had 2 issues. One didn't follow the steps, and the other one made a complete kicks here when he was in trouble, and basically ended up in trouble. And that was it. 2 out of all 500 people. Now that shows you obviously that the system works. Right. Basically, the stage 1 said is to get the email from the CEO. Stage 2, change your meters. Stage 3. At the front of your house, you need to have a sign put up which says this is the registered office of John Henry Doe Limited, or whatever your company name is called. Now, what that does is actually gives you enhanced property rights. And it also shows you that by doing this, what you're doing is your property, that is actually your registered company, right, at that particular place, which means that that's actually tying in with the paperwork that you sent to, the director or the CEO or whatever, or the energy company, stating that you're actually there. Now, once that's done, you then go to stage 4, which is you've got to make sure that your house is safe, so you're not blowing up your neighbours or anything. So what you do is you go and get what's known as a landlord certificate from the, for the electric, and landlord certificate for the gas. For gas, it's probably anywhere between £80 to £100. For the electric one, depending on the size of the house, it could be anywhere from about, £70, £80 up to about £150. Right, once you've got that,
If you own your own house,
it doesn't matter. It's a landlord certificate, right? Because if you own the house and you're going to rent it out, you'd have to get one of those anyway.
It's a legal requirement.
No, I said if you're going to rent it out. Yeah, but I mean, even if you've got your own house, it doesn't matter. The landlord certificate is, it's known as a landlord certificate, but in actual fact, what it is a safety certificate to say that your house is safe for electric and the house safe for gas, yeah?
I've got gas and electric friends who are gas safe and electric. I can get them to do it.
Yeah.
They do it free from it.
Yeah. That's easy, right, in that case, right, and it saves you the money. Now, once you've got that done, right, the next step is stage 5. Now, what you need to do is, if your meters are outside or inside, what you need to do is have a sticker on your gas meter and a sticker on the electric meter which says this meter is owned and managed by John Henry Doe Limited. Interference with this meter is dangerous and will be charged £1,000 or £500, whatever price that you want to pick on it. And basically, for every time it's interfered with. Yeah. If it's in a meter box outside, right, you still need the sticker on it, but you also need to have on the front of the meter cabinet a sign there which says that inside this cabinet is the meters of John Henry Doe Limited, etc. Because then what you're doing is you're now making that cabinet company property, and that's the equivalent of someone breaking into that. Is the equivalent of like someone breaking into a Tesco warehouse. Yeah. Now, once you've got those steps, they can't do anything. Right. The worst thing that anyone can do is the supplier can actually apply to a court, right, under the health and safety, I think it's 86 for gas and 89 for electrical, or vice versa, right, under health and safety to prove that your property is safe. So if they turn up, the first thing you do is you say, who are you? And they say, I'm from Haste or I'm from wherever, or whatever, and you say, what are you doing here? And they'll say, we're under, we've got a warrant here, in the name of XYZ, because it's going to be in the old name. And you can say, well, actually, I've got an email here from the CEO, right, which says that, we've actually taken over, right, this was done months ago, and also, if you look further on the email, it will say that you don't have a contract with us. What are you doing here? Right, that's first of all taking that out. The second thing is, if they then turn and say, well, we've still got the warrant, okay, what's the warrant for? Well, we've got to check to make sure the electric and gas are safe. Here's the electric certificate, here's the gas certificate. Right, as you can see at the top, it's written to the company name. Yeah. Now, as you look at the front of the house, you'll see there that the front of we've got the limited company, right, is registered to this address. So that's all tying up. If they go and have a look at the meter, you'll see that the meter has got the company details on it. And basically, if they turn around and say, well, actually, according to our paperwork, we're a supplier. Okay, what's our serial number? They've no idea. Right, because you've changed it all and you're now complete. Now, this works, and it's not a case of, maybe whatever. If you follow the steps, it will work for you, right? Because we have hundreds of people, right, in our group that are doing this and practicing this today without any problems.
What do you do with
Can I
it?
do-
People who took out?
Whatever you want, it's yours.
Send it back to them.
No, you don't own it. They don't own it.
I know they don't own it.
Yeah, so why send
I've had
it?
a lot of dealings with
Yeah.
energy companies.
You don't need to send it back to them at all. Mine are on the floor of my garage. Doesn't mean you put yours there.
Well, I haven't done this yet, but I am going to do it. We're doing when I get home.
We can't
Fine.
Nobody can hear.
Yeah, they haven't put their hands up either.
What about the existing bill? Like you're getting it changed over now. What about the existing before you did this?
Okay, if your name is John Smith and the previous owner was John Brown, and you get bills for John Brown, what you can do with it? Or send it back. Right, just do RTS on it, return to sender, right, and with the date, stick it back in the post box.
Well, never see.
Right, now what we actually do is on the essential purchases page in Discord, we've got all these things like stamps, etc. So you don't have to write RTS anymore, just stamp it in. It says return to sender, addressee not known at this address, with the date, and we've even included there details of digital camera, which costs you 25 quid or whatever, right? Take photos of it before and after, the front and back of it rather, so you've got a record that you've actually sent that back and when.
Does the, like you say, you put a sticker on the gate.
They can't hear. Nobody can hear.
Yeah.
What about, can I just tell them?
Can I still have the denial of access on the gate as well? Or
You can have the denial of access, but it doesn't mean anything. Right?
Can I have them both?
You can, but it doesn't mean anything. Right? The most important one is because once you've got the registered company address there, right, that puts your property in a much higher standard. It's what's known as enhanced property rights. Right, so it's much higher. Okay? Sorry. Hi.
Two very quick questions. Hi. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. Number one, can this replacement that you do be an analog meter? Can you replace the meter, electric meter with an analog rather than a digital meter?
Yeah.
You can do that, thank you. Can you do the same with water? And
Right, with the
meters?
water meter, that's completely different. The reason being is you can say that you've switched companies from British Gas to E.ON, or from E.ON to EDF, or from EDF to Scottish Power. However, if you're with Thames Water, you can't suddenly say I'm with Severn Trent, because you're in a completely different thing. With the water side, don't worry about it. Just break off all contact. They can't do anything because under the European whatever it is, Human Rights Act, that's it. They can't disconnect your water. Right, that's the reason why what they're trying to do now is they're trying to put charge on the property, which is the reason why we do steps before so that they can't do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. hang on. Sorry.
A good question about how you set up the company in the first place, because to set up a limited company you need directors. How does it work?
One director.
One director. What are the ramifications? Who is the director? Do you, your other persona, your alter ego, does that end up being the other director? And
No.
like the roles
What
and
you
responsibilities?
do is you do the director as your implied name, because that's also your trademark name. Okay, so that's always going to be your implied name. So once again, they can't do anything because the worst case scenario is they're going to try and prosecute. Well, there won't be anyway because it's a normal company, right? But if anything did happen, all they could try and do is prosecute a trademark.
But if it's your implied name, that you have a legal responsibility or responsibility.
No, you don't,
as
because
there's roles and responsibilities of a director.
right, it's a dormant company.
Even if it's dormant,
Yeah.
so then
They don't do anything to the company.
so
I would think so.
you see, I would have thought that you would still have legal responsibilities even with a dormant company.
To do what? To do what? Because there's nothing there.
I would have thought that you would have, the legal responsibility. Now the thing is, I'm just going to play devil's advocate, I guess, like you are, in that sense. Okay, so hiding behind a company, all this kind of stuff. This is what's been happening with the current system, in the sense of whether it's Boris Johnson or whatever, hiding behind the name and the company and whatever, so they can get away with the crimes that they do. Possibly, I don't know.
No, not possibly, it's true.
It's true. Okay, so I think, I don't know, I'm going to put it the way I think it's happening, in the sense of like what we're trying to do. We're trying to rebel against the system, in the sense of like to try and challenge it, or trying to just sidestep it and do all this kind of stuff. So we're not trying to get back or end tyranny here necessarily.
No.
We're just trying to sidestep
what
things
we're doing,
in a way that will work for us.
Yeah, what we're actually doing is we're actually turning it on themselves, right, and using their rules against themselves.
So we're not ending tyranny.
Yeah, and basically by doing that, you don't have any issue with it because your company's dormant anyway, so there are no problems, there's no issues. Right. Yeah.
Southwest Water. I've never contracted with them, so
Yeah.
everything is coming to the occupier.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
no, they can't do anything to be sort of.
No.
I just keep ignoring them, keep returning to sender.
Completely.
That's it.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
What will happen is anyway, because if you hadn't, what will happen is you just keep on putting return sender on it. Eventually, especially with the water, after 2-3 times it's gone back, it'll come back to the occupier then. And
Keeps coming back.
yeah, it's the same. And then once it goes to the occupier, you're in a very happy position because who they're looking for.
It's been 4 years.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. It'll stay that way. Yeah.
I don't worry about it.
Thank you for that. My question was about property. My property is still mortgaged,
Yeah.
and I've changed my name,
Yeah.
so I've got a different name now,
Yeah.
no default.
Yeah.
Do I haven't informed that registry yet?
Okay.
Do I need to do that now? Or?
Okay. First of all, if you change your name via EDP,
Yes.
not default,
Yeah.
and you've got a mortgage on the property,
Yes.
you will need to let the mortgage people know that you have changed that name in that side. The reason being is because then when you do the AP1 form, which allows you to change your name from the implied name to the EDP name, the only one that could possibly object to it would be the mortgage company.
Right.
Now, if they already know that you've changed your name by default, there's no objections, and it goes through nice and smooth.
Okay. Because I haven't paid my mortgage now for 3 years, and sort of ends.
Okay, well, that's
on one day.
different.
Yeah. So I need to. I need to sort of find a way of tackling that. Can I get in touch with you after to see if there's a way?
Yes, can.
Thanks very much.
So one other thing before I forget, we can take down the question here. Basically, what I've done is I've made up some business cards on little NFC chips that hand out, and basically run it on across your phone, and my contact details is put with your phone, and also using the NFC chips. You can actually see some of the videos that we've made and also I've gone to actually see the how to use Willoughby. I've done a video on that, on how to use it, and also I've gone into some details with some of the podcasts that I've done with Chris Brooks, Mel Clark, Richard Bowes, etc. So you can actually see them all there. Okay, well, see me or wife Wendy, who's hand up there, right? We've both got discs, so you're welcome to have some. And obviously, the reason why we don't want this and not I'll just give it to you is because if you're in a group, if you have the discs, right, you can pass them around the group as well. Okay?
We've got one more.
So, just a question, does this win hearts and minds, this method, win hearts and minds of people that are in the system, let's say? So, let's say somebody, okay, we stop paying our water bill, for example.
Okay, does it win hearts and minds?
Yeah.
Okay, in the cold weather like this, when your heating's on nice and full, what does that tell you?
Okay, the person on the end of the customer service phone who's also paying their water bill, they're not going to have any sympathy for us necessarily doing this, right?
Okay,
That's
as far as in that case, that's a different thing altogether. That's down to them. They need to find out. But the thing is, you know, our job is to try. My job here, from using the foundation group, is to empower people and to let people know how to deal with things. Right, and my job is to try and keep the people who are in the foundation group safe. Right, now once you know what you're doing, if you want to tell other people, right, and train other people, brilliant. Right, if you want to win hearts and minds by talking to someone who's on a customer service desk at Eon, by all means do it. Yeah.
Hang on. Could I just say from my experience with gas and electric?
Yeah.
So since 2021, obviously, I was with Octopus,
Yeah.
and originally, in the beginning, so I emailed Octopus in April 2021 and gave her the meter readings to end my contract.
Yeah.
What they said to me was, "Are you moving out?" I basically rebutted that and said, "You do what you got to do to end my contract." Okay. I gave meter readings and they sent me a bill which was £480. I paid it in honour and ended my contract. I did change my meters, but then for some reason my husband wanted them about a year later changed back, so we put the ones back in. But I can honestly say I've never ever had anything now. The odd bit I might still get obviously my data, I've asked them to remove it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't get any hassles at all.
Because you've done that. Good, great. Now, one quick question there, one point about that. You said in honour. Right, let me explain how the honour is. Right, basically, when you have, you're using electricity and gas, a lot of the times, you know, you could be thinking, am I defrauding Eon, am I defrauding British Gas, am I defrauding EDF or whatever, right? You're not, because basically, they are not supplying you. Electric is supplied by the National Grid, gas is supplied by National Grid Gas.
I didn't want to
No, I
pay
understand what you're
any more
saying.
knowing what I was going to
Yeah,
do
sure,
anyway.
sure,
So I
sure.
didn't want to be greedy.
No,
Yeah?
I understand totally, yeah.
So-
I'm just letting everyone know that. Basically, they're supplied to you by that. What is happening is, let's say for argument's sake, if I said, sorry, if I said to you, okay, you own your car, right, Alan, yeah? You own your car, and you bought the car, you put petrol in it, you've insured it, you've taxed it, you've MOT'd it. If I said to you, at the end of the week, I want you to write down all the miles that you've done, I'm going to charge you 30 pence a mile, would you be happy paying that? Okay, well that's basically what's happening with your electric and gas. They're not supplying you, they're charging you for how many units on your meter you're accruing. Right, and they're charging you then, so basically have your own meters and pay yourself.
Right, thank you, Charles. Excellent. I live in a flat upstairs from the owner, the landlady, she's fast asleep, has no idea about any of this. She lives downstairs. The meters are all outside. I'd love to do this. I'm quite happy to do it if I own my own place. However, I'm nervous about, for example, putting signs on meters in her cupboard and so on. How would you approach that situation?
Very simply, first of all, you need to have your company name on the meters and obviously the, you know, the company name on the front property. If you turn around and say to your landlady or whatever, this is the situation, I'm setting up a company. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be doing the business from the house. I mean, for argument's sake, it could be a deep sea company, or it could be a tarmacking company. It doesn't mean, you know, you're going to be doing deep sea diving in your living room. Yeah. But the thing is, especially if the company's dormant. Yeah. So basically, you can say that, and you can say that under the legal side, right? You have to have the company name displayed at the front for mail purposes. So that's one way you can deal with that. Second thing is, if you're worried about what they're going to say about what's going on the meters, right? You can easily turn around and say, I don't believe in the idea of these smart meters. I don't want smart frequencies going around the house. Therefore, I put that on the meters so they can't change the meters. Job done. Yes. Yeah. We've had that before. Of course, people have done that.
Charlie, thank you very much for coming and sharing this with us. It's given us a lot of homework to do as well. Thank you very much. My question is, this is brilliant, and I'm certainly doing it, but what can go wrong? That's what we've got to look for. Will they change the law or something?
With the 5 steps, right, the only way that things can go wrong, we've had some 2 issues that we've had, right, in 500 people. Right, the first one was the young lady had the meters changed, she had the certificates done, she had the email from the CEO. The problem was she didn't have the stickers put on the meter, which meant when someone came round, because it wasn't labelled as a company property, they were able to change it. That was one issue. The other one was a bloody idiot and copied everything up from start to finish, despite the fact that he had his company name on the meter cupboard. He was there opening the cupboard, letting them, and the policeman was saying to him, listen, stop talking. He's going, yeah, okay. Right. Completely lost his mind, didn't know what he was saying, and the reason for that is he was not prepared, didn't understand what to say if anything like this happened. That's why we have role play sessions.
Can they change the law?
No, they can't. They can't, because that's the reason why they can't push it, because what they're doing is illegal anyway. Yeah, sorry.
So just a question, kind of following up from what Lisa was saying about being honourable and all that kind of stuff. So how much should, let's say, National Grid or whatever was invoicing us, let's for example, how much should we be paying or
You're not. Basically, it works like this, right? The infrastructure, originally, the pylons in the roads, the pipes underground, etc., were paid for by tax money. Yeah? So the infrastructure was already there, paid for originally by our own tax money. Every year, billions with a B, not millions, billions is paid to National Grid and National Grid Gas from the government, your tax money, right, supplying it.
From the
Right, so
government?
they're actually paying for the electric and gas that we're using because it comes from your tax money. So in other words, I'm not talking about income tax, I'm talking about your VAT. When you go and fill your petrol in your car, you're paying for your electricity and your gas. When you go and do shopping in Sainsbury's, right, sorry, Mark.
So is that
right, but you know what I'm saying, you know, wherever you're doing shopping or whatever, you're using, you know, you're accruing VAT, right, what you're doing is you're actually paying for your electric and gas.
So you're saying the VAT is going to pay the companies that are making the electricity, supposedly making.
You're paying into National Grid. You've already paid for the infrastructure, and your ongoing VAT payments, etc., is paying what the usage is. What's happening with your company like EDF, E.ON, etc., they're just double dipping. Like the same way I'm charging Alan, how many miles is he doing? I'm charging 30 pence per mile. Right, I've got no right to really do that. But the reason why the government came out with this idea is because it's another way of generating more income streams.
Okay, so
hello, I just want to say what you're saying here this morning is amazing, and it's an extra layer of defence. Going on here. And I just wanted, like the lady said over here, my story, I've not paid my bills for 4 years, no, nearly 5 years now. And with the lady over here, I just never engage with them. You are not the person that is on the documents that's coming through the letterbox. You are not the capital letters, you are not the occupiers. So there's a massive thing to either just, I've learned, trust me, I've been arrested about half a dozen times for something to do with no car tax, very much like soot went through. But with regards to utility bills, sometimes it's about not engaging with them. But what's been spoken about here is just an amazing extra level of defence to what we're trying to do.
I agree with you 100%. But the thing is, a lot of people will struggle, not on that sort of level. They're always going to have the worry about doing that. Now, by doing these systems and keeping those 5 rules, right, going through those processes, what you're actually doing is, keep the five process going, right? It gives you those extra levels and it gives you the extra protection. With regards to the other thing about the not paying car tax and stuff like that, so I don't want to get into the argument about travelling and versus driving, but the reason why I still pay road tax and the reason why I still pay insurance, right, is a couple of reasons. Because if I'm stuck at the traffic lights behind another car and some idiot rams me from behind and I go forward, right, I'm responsible for repairing, obviously the car in front of me for repairing their car. And I didn't want that grief, number one. Second thing is also, if I'm going, whatever happens, if I have some sort of an accident or something, right, I want to be able to make sure that person can actually get some form of compensation, right, for whatever happens. That to me is staying in honour.
Okay, just to follow on from that though, when that incident happened, I had done a lot of research with regards to being self-insured.
Yeah.
And which referred to as the
1099A.
Yeah.
So therefore, if that incident did happen with regards to what you've just said, the idea that there are forms out there that people in America have used, the person that I may have bumped into, because we all want to be in honour with regards to what we're doing, and so we can obviously pay for whatever injuries or damage that has been done, because we're all very much about no loss, no harm, no damage. But when I got stopped by the police and got arrested and all of that thing, they just did not listen to anything I had to say.
Exactly. Well, the other thing is, another thing is, if I wanted to drive down the road and buy a pint of milk, and there's a policeman there that stops us because they've got NPR and everything these days, right? I don't really want to be standing on the side of the road for 45 minutes trying to argue with some moron, right? The difference between driving and travelling, right? So that's another reason why also, it's just, once again, it's all about convenience as well, right? I agree with what you're saying, and in an ideal situation, what I would like to do, and it's something that I have thought the idea of, is when we get up to something like 2,000, 3,000 people in our group, what we're looking to try and do is create a PMA, and everyone puts in, say, £1,500 or £2,000 for their insurance. Now, I know you're probably thinking, bloody hell, £2,000 for insurance, but you only pay it once, right? And, so long as you don't charge, you're not collecting on it, right, you just keeps on going. So if you don't have an accident, that £2,000 could serve you for 10 years or whatever.
Well, that's something that I actually...
But we're not there yet.
Well, I've actually created a business plan for something very similar.
Microphone.
I was just following on from what he was saying, that's all.
Use the microphone.
I've already created a business plan. I basically bought my car from Jersey, which is outside, and I paid no MOT or car tax for my car. And my business plan was to have people buy cars from Jersey and bring them into the UK, which is in then a different jurisdiction, so you then don't naturally get any parking fines, speeding fines. And the business plan that I was creating, that you would buy your car via me, you would be then a member of that business, and you would be part of a fleet insurance.
Yeah. So same sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, only because we're on the car on there, you don't need to get the car from anywhere else. When I did it, I simply wrote to DVLA and told them the car was no longer in their jurisdiction. When I got stopped by the police, I was there for 4.5 hours, and they brought the police inspector, and he accepted the fact that there was no MOT, no road tax. The only thing they couldn't verify was the fact there was no insurance. And that's the bit where if you have a club and you've got the insurance in place, that will work. And most of the people I've been here know that I've gone down the route of going flat out of the system, where I didn't use any of the documentation from government and completely reneged on all of it. Right, there comes a point at which you realise that you have to have both the lawful and the legal systems in place. The legal system is not satanic. It is necessary. Why is it necessary? It's because the law is to do with those who are living, where our blood flows and our flesh lives, and we are sentient beings with a conscience. The legal is for all the other toys, cars, buildings, mobile services. The birth certificate is not there to control you. If you understand how this system is supposed to work, the birth certificate is your safety cutout fuse, so that the corporate world cannot infringe on your inalienable rights. Right, and it's really important. A lot of the truth movement has got traumatized into thinking that the legal is satanic. It's not. It's a situation where you're in your car and your car's been carjacked. You don't burn the car down. You remove the carjacker and take back control of the car. And that is exactly what Charles is describing. What Charles has essentially done is they've formalised and structured a method and a process which is scalable that we put in place in the sovereigntrust.net website, right, where the individual, and I've always kept her anonymous for her own security, has lived exactly what Charles has said. And that process, you can go and ratify it for yourself. Go to the website, read the instructions, and everything that Charles has said is written in that order on that website. And she's been not paid anything apart from a mortgage for 5 years, and she hasn't had one knock from a bailiff because the process is sound. But people have to stop thinking they're trying to get out of the system. You're trying to take control of a system and utilise it properly. Right? You have to have a legal system. If you don't have a legal system, there's no differentiation between those who are living sentient beings and those who are not. That's a dangerous position to be in. So you have to have those two aspects to it. They're a bit like the yin and yang. They are the polarity of governance. Right? You can't have a nation without a legal system. So we have to stop thinking we're trying to get out of the system. We're trying to take back control of the system. But if you go back, it was actually designed to protect us, not be leveraged against us. We've just forgotten that. So to be honest, sir, thank you very much for doing what you do. I can now go from being semi-retired to completely retired.
All right, lovely. So, okay, question only on this double dipping thing, because obviously if I'm not going to pay my electricity, gas, whatever, I want to feel comfortable conscience-wise and so on.
Completely.
Okay, so is there an affidavit or something like that done by accountants to actually prove the double dipping and everything?
Okay.
Because, you know, just like Francis Boyle's
easiest way to do
affidavit
this,
for bioweapons and things like that.
easiest way to do this, go directly onto Companies House, right, have a look at the National Grid for electric, National Grid for gas, right, and you'll see the payments there paid, right, from the government, right, for the amount of electricity generated and used, and for gas, etc. as well. That's already proving the point. You already know that the infrastructure was paid for by the government, etc. For many, many years when it was being built.
And we paid for it.
Yeah,
But there are ongoing charges as well, right? Because
Yeah,
you have repairs,
but
they're still being paid. So there's repairs and things going on all the time. It's not like one-off.
Every year, right, for the electric and for the gas. Billions. Right, and that's basically everything that we've used.
And we are paying for it.
Every year they're
Right, so let's just get an affidavit. That's
It's
what I'm
every year.
Yeah, but
It's on the website.
Doing it this way is the simplest way. Sorry. You're paying for it in the
1920s. You guys, do you not want to hear? Do you not want to hear what Chris Hargreaves has to say?
I do.
Come on. Do you like, I mean, we've got, he's awesome, isn't he? Charles is offering a solution with an app. And like, sir, come on, we need an app. And it's available on every media you can think of, sir.
It is not available on any app store because we are banned. As soon as we put it up, we got banned by PayPal and Stripe. because they didn't like it, because we're the Antichrist as far as they're concerned.
She gives me the abuse because she knows I can take it.
I'm so here though. So thank you, Charles.